Jamie, it's one of those unprecedented times in life, really, and how we deal with it.
Yeah, I think nothing can really prepare you for what's going on in the wider world at the moment, and I suppose everyone's just got to try and adapt the best they can at the moment.
As for like businesses, it's not something you sort of can plan for. We all do disaster planning and bits like that, so there is some sort of something to work off. But again, something this big is quite.
Yeah, I think we do have I think it's disaster recovery plan that we're trying to follow, that was written up as part of our audits, which has been a help. But I think when you start writing those things, you don't actually expect them to happen, and you don't know how they're going to happen and when they're going to happen. So ourselves as a community department, we were quite fortunate that we have quite a lot of remote workers anyway, and they're out and about. They're not based at the football club 24/7. So that in that respect, it's been quite easy. The hard bits has been converting all of our delivery from face-to-face delivery to try and offer something remotely, as well as look after those participants that we want to be seeing, and looking after our staff as well and making sure they're safe.
Community, you work with a lot of vulnerable people, from the old and the disabled and underprivileged as well.
Yeah, I mean, currently where we're at, we've worked really hard. The staff have worked extremely hard through a process. So we started with obviously making sure the staff were safe. That was our first and foremost, and then the participants. So once we prepared the staff, we kind of knew this was coming, didn't we? We were quite fortunate with that it was kind of a phased approach from the government of going into isolation. So we tried to mobilise the staff, make sure that they had the tools that they needed to work remotely if they didn't already have them, and then we looked at the what we needed to do in the first instances. So that was our vulnerable participants, our disabled participants, and our elderly participants. So in terms of that, we've got Kate, our health activator, who's doing a great job on getting some online resources for them, but more importantly is giving them a call a couple of times a week just to make sure that they're not getting isolated and they've got the support they want. We're currently looking at how we get food to one of our participants that lives on his own. Is a bit frightened to go out at the moment and being advised not to go out, but if we can help in any way like that, we will do. And then it's also obviously important to keep them active and give them ideas. So there's been a few Facebook groups appear and some funny videos in terms of armchair aerobics and different things. So just trying to make sure that we keep engaging with them and keep communication. With our disabled participants, again, our inclusive sports team have been really hard putting some videos together, putting some programs together that they continue to do something in the back garden. It's lovely that the weather's really nice at the moment and we've got the opportunity to get out there. Hopefully it'll stay. I don't think the forecast is going to be as kind, but if we can keep them active and keep them engaged with Shrewsbury Town, that's fantastic. And then obviously the rest of the team are working on the Shoes at Home project, which is something that's just going to get bigger and bigger, I hope, as we go through this period.
And again, we put it out there, the Shoes at Home thing, and ask people to sign up. It seems to be a success, but it's a simple thing to keep people, children, engaged, to sort of help parents, because this homeschooling thing is a whole different game.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've got a 3.5-year-old at home that just keeps walking out of my lessons that I give him. I don't know why. So yeah, I think we're trying to turn this into a bit of a positive. I sat down and reflected a little bit last night, and I thought, if a workplace ever told me you're going to be stuck at home for 2.5 months, 3 months, possibly, with your young children, you'd probably bite the hands off for it, to have the opportunity to see them grow up. And somebody also said to me, it's great that life's actually slowed down a little bit. We're not picking our kid up from school, taking them to swimming, then on to football club, then home to do the homework, then to bed, and then repeat the next day. So there are some positives out of a really negative situation here. So to really get families engaged. So a lot of the Shoes at Home stuff that we're doing is not just to get a resource so the children can not annoy their parents so much, but it's about obviously trying to get families to be brought together to do activities. I've been the one that's been building the stadium. That's the stadium challenge with my son. and hopefully other families are doing that, and the different challenges that are going to come out and the different support that we'll get from players through the time will be fantastic. And we're also obviously trying to build that into a bit of social action as well. So it won't be long before we're looking at how we can engage with the wider football club's fan base and make sure, one, they're safe, but also that they're engaging in stuff to keep them mentally sane at this time when you're stuck in your house for so long. And also making sure they're supporting other Shrewsbury Town fans and other Shropshire people if they can. If the football club, and the football club isn't just players and staff, it's also the fans. If the fans can get together at times like this, I'm sure we've got a huge network that could be some real worth to Shropshire at the moment.
It's an interesting thing because it's something Brian, yourself, media, everyone at the club has spoken about, that social inclusion thing, and what happens come the last game of the season when people are basically, who are engaged in football as a massive thing in their life, it disappears for maybe 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, it's exactly that right now, isn't it? But in a different context. So I think it all comes down to communication, doesn't it? And I think, again, looking at this as a positive, I've been teaching my nan how to use FaceTime and different things like that. So again, sometimes with the elderly engagement, if we can upskill people to be able to use technology, that there's some great technology out at the moment. We're 40, 50 miles apart and we're talking through the internet right now. That wasn't around 10 years ago even. So if we can engage and it uses it as a positive, that we can communicate with more people, it's actually going to have a positive effect around the county and around the country. I'm sure it will.
There's also work that yourselves do with ARC and food banks as well. So as a club, there's sort of resources as well that we can't use now. Are we looking to sort of pass those on if we can?
We will do, yeah. I think it was from my point of view, it was to make sure we didn't jump into doing loads and loads of things that we can't do properly, and our staff aren't trained and the football club staff aren't trained to do. So we're at the moment looking into short webinar courses of how, through communication through the telephone and different skills that you need, almost a bit like a light version of Samaritan. So that will come out and be able to go across the workforce. In terms of, again, I suppose that I'm speaking on the whole behalf of the whole football club, everyone still has their everyday job to do. So you guys in media are still having to put out content, still having to maintain the websites and the different things that you guys do. Our staff, although they're desperate to help where they can, we're still engaging with schools. I think we've got 6 or 7 coaches actually engaging in schools, ensuring that those key worker children can go forward, because the schools are having real trouble in staffing this on an everyday basis. Obviously, if one person in a family goes down and is isolated for 14 days, that's a real hit on your workforce. So for every one member of staff that we're sending out, and obviously that's limited at the moment, we're keeping 2 or 3 back to ensure that once we commit to something, we feel we can do it. And we've got the Easter holidays on horizon, so with teachers not obliged to be going into schools, we're having phone calls every day from school, and we're speaking to our funders and our support from the EFL Trust and the Premier League communities to ensure that, one, are we allowed to go in with the social isolation? And at the moment, the key is if it's essential, which obviously the key workers' children being having childcare for them, it is essential, then we'll continue to try and support as long as we've got staff to do it, and as long as the staff are in a safe position to do that as well.
One of the things as well, I guess, with the NCS, which is a massive program, but that's suspended now, so it's how to sort of keep that engagement going.
Yeah, again, I'm a little bit away from that at the moment. Our NCS team have been fantastic. Calvin, our NCS manager, is actually sitting on a national board for that, with the NCS Trust, of how it gets redeveloped. So it looks like it's going to be a digital offer while we're in isolation. So where phase 1 and phase 2 used to be a fantastic, practically 2-week residential with soft skills, life skills, and team building skills, that's going to be changed to a digital offer. For those that don't know about the NCS project, there's 50,000 15 to 17-year-olds that will be going on this program over the summer. It culminates with a social action project. So obviously they've redone that at the moment to make sure that we'll probably mobilise 10,000 hours worth of volunteering across Shropshire. We don't honestly know what that's going to be like yet, and what the need is going to be come the end of coronavirus. But the timings, hopefully, if we follow the same lines as China and the rest of them, that, like I said, that those voluntary hours could be crucial for local charities to get back up on their feet, local organisations to get back up on their feet. So we're fortunate. We've gone through the shock of the first week and everything, and now we're looking at the positives of how we can really engage in some meaningful social action. So, like I said, I was really keen on not being the football club that had their players kicking a toilet roll up and down, and those fads will soon start to wear off, and we need to make sure that our players are engaging in some meaningful activities that are helping families, helping the vulnerable society that we've got in Shropshire, and like I said, making a real difference for what we want to do.
Brian spoke about this a couple of days ago, how we're talking to the council and the local NHS about how we can help in any ways, and I guess there's a few things down the line that will come out soon.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of meetings now, and one of our trustees is obviously working with the Shropshire Council as well. So again, at the moment, there's been obviously a great response to social action. There's been you're being kind to your neighbour, and there's some great groups out there. So I think from our point of view, it's pointing people in the right direction. It's making sure that we're using the players to promote continuing to wash your hands, continuing to stay at home, and get those messages out through our fan base, and hopefully that will help stop this virus spreading even further. And then from there, obviously, we'll look again with the council of 2-3 weeks down the line of where we can help, whether that's facilities, whether that's volunteering, or further social action resources, whatever that may be. Still supporting the schools. Obviously, the schools are still going, so our staff are actually remotely working with teachers at the moment to supply them with stuff to go directly into the houses, to make sure that the kids aren't just getting maths and literacy, they're getting some PE as well, and the support that way. From our point of view, it'll depend on the government support that comes. I know they are looking at what charitable funding can come through. And like I said, we can't just switch one member of staff from the current project to help this particular crisis at the moment when there's already groups doing it. So we don't want to just duplicate work. We probably want to, if we are going to change our workforce around and ask them to do something different, then like I said, it needs to meet local need, and it needs to not just, like I said, duplicate work that's already being done there and is being covered. So I would have thought, like you've seen the NHS, the cry for more volunteers overnight with hospital builds and different things. I'm sure we'll be getting involved in that in some way. It's just a timing thing. Without sounding like Boris, we're flattening the curve. It is a timing thing of exactly when our support is needed, and use it in the right way, and not exhaust it in the first couple of weeks.
I guess as well, finally, the message is listen to the government, stay at home, but also look out for everyone in the community around you.
Yeah, I'll go back to the network of what Shrewsbury Town is, with the amount of followers it has on social media, getting that message out of people staying at home. But if we 6,500 people that come to a match, 6,000 people come to a match every day, they've got two neighbours. That's 18,000 people that could be checked. And if and when, and if we can get the crisis numbers out, that's a huge amount of the population of Shropshire that could be covered by Shrewsbury Town fans, just looking after somebody that lives either side of them in a house, and with their family network as well. We would be a huge network that could help in a real time of need.